it called the triangle slave
But
trade.
then when you ask them that question, they're not going to have a definitive answer.
That's because they're already in their own community of Caribbeans and Haitians, Jamaicans. They're all like in one bowl.
But Black Americans are in their own bowl as well. Like that's what I'm saying. Why are we getting questioned?
That's why Africans feel that way, because they feel like because you don't know where you come from, which is not by fault by Africans.
We know where we come from. We come from America.
The appreciation of the hard work for the immigrants who came to this country and worked hard.
But here's the thing is the Civil Rights Bill is the reason why our parents got to come over here. 1964, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was one of the most racist son of bitches on the planet, had to sign that civil rights. But you know, Martin Luther King is civil rights
right
next
next
to
to
him.
it. Right, yeah.
So that is the reason why Koreans can come here. Koreans, Indians, Arabs, Nigerians. It's because of the Civil Rights Bill.
Right.
It's because of African Americans, foundational black, coming in here, busting their ass, being treated like shit,
Right.
being hung, lynched. Jim Crow from slavery was Jim Crow, segregation, Reconstruction, being promised that they were going to get this, fighting every war. They've been black people fought in every single war and still being disrespected, not being able to buy homes.
Right.
You understand? Burning up of black towns. And people go, well, why aren't they? They saw opportunities. There were black Wall Streets. There were black banks, black hospitals, and they came and burned it. Every black person wasn't a slave. There were black people that were here in America already. They were already here. They were not. I know some black people that I'm not a descendant of slaves. We were already here. You know that black people were already here. Black people already traveled. Yeah. Native Americans that are Siberian hate black folks. But don't understand that they're black Indians. I met black in the casino. I met black Cree Indians. These dudes were hanging with me speaking Cree. I was like, "What the fuck?" They were like, "Oh no, we're Cree." They were speaking Cree. The Indians are black. Most of them are black. There's the Siberian ones that look Mexican-ish, who came from the Bering Strait. But then their dances. I just found this out. Their dances are from the black folks.
Well, I bet you a lot of Asian Americans too don't, in my experience, don't even realize that if it wasn't for the civil rights movement, there would not be 22 million Asian Americans in this country.
Thank you. What I have been trying to teach the Asian community is like, friends, do you understand that your success, your prosperity, your civil rights that you enjoy right now was paid for with black blood?
You said something earlier in an answer where you said that you talk about native blacks. And so that clearly sounds as if you are delineating native blacks versus someone that comes here from Bermuda or Jamaica or wherever they may they may come from that is black.
That's right.
And the purpose of that is what? Because you're on the surface, it would be like, hey, everybody here that's black gets treated a certain way. Why are you making that delineation?
That is an excellent point. You know why? Because you see, those people coming in from Jamaica or coming in from Africa, they have not been treated like black folk in this country. That's the first thing. And secondly, historically, they haven't had those historical spirits. They come in here voluntarily. When they come in here, they bring some cultural aspects from Africa. They can go back anytime they want. But the black people in this country are exceptional people. Nobody's been mistreated, maltreated like them. Black folk are exceptional. They're the only people that came here forcefully. One. Two, they're the only people that denied their humanity. Three, they were the only people denied a right to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Four, they were the only people denied the right to participate in government. Five, they were the only people denied the right to vote. Six, they were the only people denied the right to have an education. Seven, they were the only people denied the right to have a business. Eight, they were the only people that participated in every war that this country has had since its founding, but whose mother country has never been against this country. All those immigrants come from countries where they fought America, and they came in. And there's seven, that they are the oldest and most patriotic people in the country. Not the Confederates in the South. They're not the most patriotic people waving the Confederate flag. The most patriotic people in this country are black people, native blacks, because you see 99% of all those blacks have been direct descendants of slaves. They've been here before 99% of all the other people ever arrived in this country. They're special people. And because they're special people, they need to be recognized, appreciated, and reparated for what they've done in this country and building this country. They're the ones that built the bridges, the roads, cut the timber, the trees, and cleared the land, raised the tobacco, cotton, indigo. They're the people that fought to raise in every war to protect this country. The people coming from Africa or coming from Jamaica didn't. They came here voluntarily. And the most important point on this is if you lump them with black folk, then you give the dominant white society a justification to say we don't owe black folk anything. Because you see, the blackness, black people Blackness is more than just color. It is their heritage, it's their history, it's their code of conduct, and more importantly, it is their badge of honor, and it's what it symbolizes the indebtedness that this country has to them. This country does not have an indebtedness to people coming from Africa. They don't have an indebtedness to people coming in from the Bahamas. If you lump black folk in there, you deprive black folk of the benefit, the debt that's owed them. Don't do that.
Billionaire tech and entrepreneur Mark Andreessen explains inadvertently how DEI has crushed the African American community. Wait, the foundational black community.
It actually also affects African Americans in a very interesting way, which is actually both the universities and the corporate employers are literally, this is true, they literally import Africans so that they don't have to hire African Americans because they still count as black. There was a great story. The thing that woke me up to this, there was a story in the New York Times 20 years ago about Harvard. This is Harvard admits, black students, but which ones? Back when the New York Times could talk about these things honestly. And it quoted actually Henry Louis Gates and Lonnie Guinier at the time at Harvard Law School, basically observing that African Americans were not benefiting from affirmative action because Harvard had figured out that they could import Nigerians. Right, and again, it's just like, right, the Nigerians are great, they're very smart, they're very productive, it's fantastic. All other things being equal, you'd like to have as many of them in your country, but like, is that really why we're doing, the set-aside programs?
This is a part of American history that most immigrants, and specifically, I want to talk to the Africans that come here. This is a part of American history that you guys don't understand. And this is why you may think the Black Americans are always complaining. You guys have to understand that we are not a guest here, right? We didn't just get here and like you guys. We're on a completely different program, and the government treats us as such. Let me read this to you. We are the only group in this country with a moral, legal, and historical claim to reparations, land, restitution, and policy power, and the moral authority to challenge the foundation of America. We're the only group that has been here since the beginning. We understand the law of the land. We know how this country was started. We know every single step that this country has been through. And when you have people like that, that's the higher ups don't want to fight with people like that, right? So what they do is they use DEI to they import people who look like us to then put them on the screen, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Karine Jean-Pierre, to make it seem like, yeah, we do hire black people. Those are first generation people here. Those are not Black Americans. They don't look at this country like we do.
To the commission, you were set up to fail. Other commissions had executive directors, staff, research, and legal teams, and this one, you weren't even allowed to speak to each other before being sworn in. Does that include relatives, or is that a conflict? Anyway, if you know the law, you know that this bill and this commission is a time-wasting, heel-spinning joke. More democratic, symbolism over substance. Why pass a blatantly illegal, unconstitutional bill, then use taxpayer funds for a commission? Commissioners may not be getting paid, but other staff and researchers are. Race-based compensation will never become law. And this isn't just a valid point, it's constitutional law. And as we have seen with the overturning of DEI and affirmative action, labeling it African descent doesn't change its race-based nature. Legislators can pass bills, but that doesn't mean they'll survive legal scrutiny. Legal scrutiny like Ed Blum, who is laser focused on knocking this bill down. The Freedmen Project went to legislators and told them that they got it wrong. They told them they wanted it amended. They told them to repeal the existing bill currently signed into law. The freedmen came in hand with a constitutional bill with the recipients based on our legal status as freedmen. They went around to different legislators and the Assembly and State Senate. They talked to them, they sat with them, they sent letters and phone calls, but due to what I can only assume is the inability of legislators to see themselves benefiting from this legal bill, we faced what we always face in this country, except this time it's from skinfolk, proving in action that they aren't the kinfolk of the FBA freedmen. How telling is it that we're getting the same treatment as we have with other legislators who don't share our skin? How does this free us? I guess the legislators would be unqualified to tell us, or they are purposely sabotaging our reparations because they do not have a bill that's worth a hill of beans. So there may be only 44 million of us, but we are 44 million who are used to fighting. And I don't mean to sound pejorative, but we are 44 million who don't run from a fight. Foundational Black American impact and influence, our presence over power is so effective in fighting that people immigrate here from all over the world to benefit from the fruits and the gains of the civil rights that we fought and died for. Since this bill is already deader than a doornail, I come to speak before my neighbors. I come to serve you notice that when this bill dies, we, the FBA freedmen, will remain standing and fighting as we have for centuries on this land drenched in our blood. And in closing, including your report that this bill is unconstitutional and illegal and isn't worth the paper it's written on, and you know it. Have a good day.
Thank you, Brooke. We appreciate your testimony.
But don't take this personally, Romelo. It won't work. You do your thing, I do my thing, It won't work. We can't work with Akata.
Akata. What is this Akata shit?
Black American? Oh shit. Cotton picker.
Well, I'm not gonna like what I'm about to say. But I'm gonna say it anyway, I don't care. Black Americans are right to be mad. They are. You see, us immigrants, not all of us, but a lot of us, seem to forget, or maybe they just don't know. But if you have been living in this country long enough, you should know that. The reason why we're here, the reason why we are allowed to be here, is because of the work Black Americans did. Because of the sacrifices they did. Because all the fights they had to fight in order for us, for them, because they didn't do it for us, they did it for themselves, and it's right. But today we are enjoying the fruit of their labor. And we should not forget that. I'm an immigrant. And yes, in my community, or in an immigrant community, and nobody can say otherwise, is a lot of disrespect for African American. It's a lot of it. I have heard it. And I have to admit that when I first came, I was also ignorant of their history. But after being in this country, for the amount of time I have been here, if I act like I don't know that, it means that I'm willingly demeaning them. They are mad. And you know what immigrants should do right now? We should not be arguing with them. We should be quiet and listen. Listen to what they're saying. Listen. No. It is not about us. It's about how they feel. It's about the experience. And guys, they are right. Many immigrant community call them lazy. They're not lazy. They even say they don't have a culture, and that's an insult. Of course they have a culture. Of course they do. In the music, in the food, in the way they live their life, in the way they dress, they have a culture. And by the way, a culture that is a leader in many ways. Our children in Africa dress like Black children. Children in Asia dress like Black children. Children in Latin America, in Europe. So please stop saying, and it's not only limited to clothing. It's in music, it's in history, it's in literature, it's in science. The immigrant community need to stop demeaning and disrespecting Black American. They are mad, and they have all the right to be mad. Now, if my immigrant community or my African community want to come after me for what I say, that is on you. I don't care. Because the truth is the truth. And we need to admit where we're coming short. You're going to come to people's house and you want to look down at them? You want to disrespect them? Yes, not all Africans. Yes, not all Latino. Yes, not all blah, blah, blah. All Asian, blah, blah, blah. But enough to make a lot of noise. But enough for them to be mad. Rightfully so. We need to be quiet now and listen to what they have to tell us. No doubting the experience. No undermining the experience. No forgetting the accomplishments. We need to stop that.
Listen, everyone's talking about how the Black American is currently moving around. The subject, delineation. First of all, delineation is simply us being clear about who we are, what our lineage is, and what struggles and victories belong specifically to our bloodline. It's not about hate. It's not about division. It's about clarity. Clarity protects us because when we don't delineate, a few things happen. Other groups start taking credit for our fight. They start talking about how they built the movements that our ancestors died for. Also, people rewrite our story while we are still living in it. They flatten all blackness to one category and then may erase the specifics about what we went through here. Resources meant for us, receiving diluted policies and scholarships, and even business grants that get redirected to anyone who can check Black on a form. Our culture gets copied, exported, but never protected. People pick up our aesthetics and commodify it. We get gaslit about our own experience. Folks come into our spaces telling us how we should feel and who we are from their perspective. But delineation stops all of that. We're saying that this is our lineage, this is our culture, this is our history. And the crazy thing is, everybody else already delineates. They don't mix themselves up. We're the only ones being told to be vogue, but vogue harms us, blurry harms us, gladdening calms us. So it's really not about exclusion. It's about protection. It's about accuracy. It's about ensuring that generations to come will inherit clarity, not confusion. But if we don't define ourselves, no one else will. And they will always define us in a way that benefits them. So delineation is not optional anymore. It's necessary, it's healthy, and it's the way forward. Believe that.